Grey Hollow was an idyllic town during the day, but at night, it turned into something else entirely. The cheerful faces of shopkeepers, the lively chatter in the town square, all of it vanished like a dream, replaced by the silence of fear. The town had been plagued by a series of gruesome disappearances. First, it was drifters and vagabonds. Then, it became people you knew, the baker's wife, the school janitor, even the mayor's daughter. They all vanished, leaving behind no clues, only bloodstains, discarded belongings, or whispers of someone being taken. Locals whispered about the butcher's shop on the edge of town, owned by Mr. Hargrove. He was a man of unnerving cheer, always smiling too widely, his apron perpetually stained with smears of blood. His shop sign read, "The freshest cuts," but the name had taken on a sinister double meaning. Some swore they'd heard faint cries coming from his shop late at night, muffled sobs carried on the wind. But no one dared ask. For Samantha, an ambitious journalist looking to escape her small-town paper, this was her shot at a real story. She was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. One evening, armed with a flashlight, recorder, and an iron will, she decided to investigate. The butcher's shop loomed ahead, its windows dark. A chill ran down her spine as she noticed the faint smell of decay mingling with the sharp metallic tang of blood. The meat locker at the back of the shop drew her attention. Samantha swore she heard muffled thuds coming from within, a rhythmic, horrible sound. Creeping around the back, she found the door unlocked. The interior was worse than she'd imagined. Bloodstains crisscrossed the floor, and rows of butcher knives hung like instruments of death. She reached the locker and pulled it open. What she saw would haunt her forever: bodies hung like grotesque marionettes, their flesh stripped and their faces frozen in terror. Before she could scream, a cold blade pressed against her neck. "You really shouldn't have come here," a low, menacing voice whispered. Samantha awoke to searing pain in her wrists. She was bound tightly to a chair, the rope cutting into her flesh. The room smelled of rotten bleach, a nauseating cocktail that turned her stomach. Her eyes adjusted to the dim light, revealing tools of horror hanging on the walls: bone saws, hooks, and knives crusted with dried blood. Chains dangled from the ceiling, still swaying slightly as if recently disturbed. Then came the voice, calm and cruel. "Welcome to my world," Hargrove said, his face illuminated by a single bare bulb. His smile was a grotesque twist of malice. "You wanted a story, didn't you? Well, I'll give you a story no one will forget." He pressed a button on the wall, and a door creaked open. Samantha's heart thundered as she heard faint sobs echoing from the shadows. Other captives. Her pulse quickened, and the rope burned against her wrists as she struggled. Hargrove noticed. "Ah, don't waste your energy. This isn't about escaping, it's about surviving." He placed a cleaver on a table, its blade gleaming under the dim light. "We'll play a little game. If you make it out of this place alive, you're free. But know this, my tools have a way of catching up to those who run." Samantha's fight-or-flight instincts took over. She twisted her wrists, using her sweat to loosen the rope. Nearby, a jagged shard of bone caught her eye. She inched her hand toward it as Hargrove turned his back. As he opened another door, she seized the shard and sliced through the ropes. The chair clattered as she stood. Hargrove turned, his face a mask of fury, but Samantha didn't hesitate. She grabbed a heavy hook from the wall and swung, catching him in the shoulder. He screamed, dropping his cleaver. Samantha bolted, her bare feet slipping on the blood-slick floor. Samantha ran blindly through the labyrinthine basement, her heart pounding like a war drum. The walls closed in, covered with grotesque trophies, human teeth embedded in frames, photographs of past victims, and messages scrawled in blood. "No one leaves." Hargrove's roars echoed through the corridors. "You think you're smart, girl? You're nothing but meat." She found a staircase leading up and sprinted, bursting into the shop above. The familiar sight of the butcher's counter gave her a glimmer of hope, but the front door was chained shut. She frantically searched for something, anything, that could help her escape. Her eyes landed on the tools, a meat cleaver, butcher's knives, and a massive meat hook suspended from the ceiling. Hargrove's footsteps thundered behind her, his ragged breathing growing louder. "I'm going to carve you into art," he hissed. Samantha grabbed a cleaver and turned to face him. His grin was twisted, his apron soaked in fresh blood. He lunged, but she sidestepped, bringing the cleaver down on his arm. Blood sprayed, and he howled in pain. But Hargrove was relentless. He swung wildly with his remaining strength, grazing her shoulder. Samantha screamed but didn't falter. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, she shoved him backward into the meat hook. The hook pierced his chest, suspending him in the air like one of his grotesque trophies. He coughed, blood bubbling from his lips as his eyes widened in disbelief. Samantha staggered to the front door, smashing the chains with the cleaver until they broke. She stumbled into the early morning light, collapsing on the street. The police arrived hours later, uncovering the horrors hidden beneath the butcher's shop. Samantha was hailed as a hero, but the nightmares stayed. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his twisted smile, heard his cruel laughter. She had survived, but part of her would always remain in that blood-soaked labyrinth. Hargrove may have died, but his shadow lingered, a grim reminder that some stories never truly end.